Being human is hard. We struggle to improve ourselves while we strive for perfection, inspired by the beauty and magnificence of the nature around us. But every once in a while, the universe sends down someone to help, a champion of mankind, someone that can show us how to navigate through our slow and difficult evolution. Prometheus to give us the fire, Leonardo da Vinci to advance scientific progress, Mozart to take music to another level, the Beatles to show us how to write a song, Michael Jackson to define a new connection between music and body, and for all of us poor and stupid bass players who also try to excel in the exquisite art of singing, the universe sent Geddy Lee to show us how it's done. Hi everybody, welcome to a new video. Today we finally get to talk about Rush and their singer and bass player Geddy Lee. Not only he's an excellent singer and an outstanding bass player, but he can be both at the same time, all perfectly locking in with the drums and with one of the best tones in rock music. Geddy Lee has anchored the Canadian power trio Rush for over 30 years and 18 studio albums. His bass work is one of the most influential in the rock and roll field, and monster players like Steve Harris, John Mayang, and Les Claypool have all cited Lee as a primary influence. Rush's progressive rock compositions are very elaborate, often lasting more than 6 minutes and featuring many different sections. And to an ear accustomed to regular rock music, Geddy's basslines can sound very exotic and overcomplicated, and definitely extremely hard to play. But to be fair, even though fancy scales are surely a part of it, for the majority we can say that Geddy uses a lot of major minor pentatonic, a good amount of Lydian, and lots of chromatics. So from a melodic standpoint, there's nothing too cryptic going on. So what makes Rush's bassline so interesting and so goddamn hard to play? First of all, it's time signatures. Even though many of their songs are based on good old 4/4, Rush's most iconic and memorable bass lines are built on odd time signatures, as it's typical of progressive rock. Leave That Thing Alone, for example, it's just a minor scale, but the 6/4 time signature gives it that extra cool sound. Same goes for Tom Sawyer, where all Geddy's doing is playing just a regular Dorian scale. Number 2 is Geddy's mighty tone. Of course, Geddy's tone is another key element of the music of Rush. As usual, we're not gonna focus on the gear used, and this time for a good reason. On the album Moving Pictures, Lee famously used 2 basses, a 78 jazz bass and a 4001 Rickenbacker. To this day, even experts are not sure of what bass he used on what song. If you can't tell apart a Rick from a jazz bass, it means that what makes the sound, it's really the fingers. The biggest part of Geddy's tone is the attack and how hard he hits the strings. Around the year 2000, Geddy started using his now famous flamenco technique, adding even more attack to the rhythm section of Rush.
Kind of go into this kind of flamenco approach, and it really suits our music, and it's fun to do, so it gives me just more tools, you know.
Let's not forget that before venturing in prog rock territory, the first Rush album was a pretty straight hard rock record. Geddy plays every note like it's his last, and though bass, amp and pedal surely play their part in crafting his tone, I believe that this intensity is what really takes everything up a notch. Number 3, double plucking. Beside the tone and the odd time signatures we talk about, what makes Geddy different from any other player I know are the little details. My favorite is the double plucking that adds syncopation and a lot of intensity to his bass part. The notes are really fast, yet tight and defined, so you had to be quick and you had to hit hard. And these two factors are the main elements that make Rush so hard to play on bass. Number 4. Sliding into notes. Around the end of the 70s, Rush's music started to become more melodic, and counterpoint began to play a bigger part, with guitarist Alex Lifeson going one way and Geddy going another. The bass started to break away from supporting the chord structure and got into creating interesting bass melodies around the chords. This really highlighted Geddy's expression, especially the exquisite way he slides into notes. Number 5. Inverted power chords. Another cool little nuance are the fast inverted power chords that Geddy uses to reinforce the bass line. Speaking of chords, check out the super cool intro of Vital Signs. This kind of arrangement doesn't really work if there's a rhythm guitar, but if you play in a trio, you should really try to use these, as they really add a lot of texture. Number 6. Don't play root. Of course Geddy plays root, but another reason that makes him such a standout player is that he also has a great way of not playing root notes. Red Barchetta is the best example. The intro is based on an A major, F sharp minor, G major and D major chord sequence, but the bass harmonizes on the 5th before locking in with the synth on the root note. So Geddy is almost dancing around the root. When the vocal line comes in, it does the same thing. The voice now plays around the 5th, while the bass moves on the root notes.
On Sundays I lose the ice and hum the turbine frame. Too far outside.
Pretty cool, right? On the following section, the root notes are F and E, but the bass guitar is playing an A and G bass line, once again harmonizing on the 3rds. Fly By Night's main riff is just a pentatonic lick, but the landing note on the 5th instead of the root makes everything sound very progressive. Also very notable is the verse of Closer to the Heart, where Geddy's bass plays a counter melody to the vocal line, which really makes the song open up.
They forge their creativity closer to the.
Number 7. Modulation during guitar solos. You really appreciate having Geddy Lee in the band during guitar solos. One of his favorite moves is modulating the bass line, for example from the tonic to the perfect 4th like in Tom Sawyer. YYZ is based on a Locrian scale, and the song begins spelling a tritone interval, which really sets the mood of the song. So what better option than modulating the bass line under the solo up a tritone to keep the Locrian mood? Number 8. Keep it simple. The main thing about Geddy Lee is that if you break down his parts, you'll find out that what he does is basically use very simple stuff, but assemble it in a very creative and non-repetitious way. For example, let's check out this section of 2112. is just a 4-chord progression, but the interesting part is the way Geddy underlines the chords in a different way each time, first using the 4th below, then the octave, and then using a little 3rd, 4th and 5th degree run. On CYGNUS X1 Book 1 The Voyage, he changes the rhythm figure, turning a simple pentatonic lick into a super cool old-time signature bass line. Check out how on Villa Strangiato he voices 3 individual chords before putting them all together. So again, simple stuff done well and assembled in a very creative way. One of the main aspects of Geddy Lee's composition is the understanding of counter melody. Operating in a power trio, he had to craft lines that would not only help build the chords, especially during solos, but also to be creative from a melodic standpoint, playing around the vocal melody, supporting the guitar while singing on top, and most importantly, being always in perfect sync with the drums, with a tremendous interplay. Well, I really hope you weren't thinking seriously that you could learn to play like Geddy Lee just by watching this video. Rush's extended discography is a gigantic source of incredible bass lines and overall music solutions and ideas, so this video was only meant to scratch the surface of this monster player. I hope it gave you some helpful guidelines to understand Geddy and Rush. Thank you very much for watching, please don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment and follow me on Instagram.